Hey guys, Cyber here, bringing you guys a new video. Before we begin, yes, this is obviously not a My Hero Academia video, this is of course a Pokemon video. There's several reasons why I'm doing this video in specific. This is, what if I wanted to see what Ash Ketchum's team would have been like without the Pokemon series. This is a pseudo what if, in a sense, of how I would have liked to see Ash's team divulge over the many years of from the series of Pokemon, of course, with Ash Ketchum. Obviously, with Ash's journey came to an end, so there were several Pokemon that some of us still would have liked to seen, or maybe not had. And I wanted to get my hand out there and show you guys what I would have felt like would have been the perfect Ash Ketchum teams throughout the entire series of Pokemon. From Kanto all the way till the very end of the series to Journeys. Now, before we actually do begin this video as well, obviously, as I said, this is not a My Hero video. This is because I want to try to expand on my content creation. Not just for My Hero, but for also Pokemon and maybe some other series. Let me guys know what you think about that. And for 2, this is not me officially returning. This is only me working on a new script for my channel. As it's been a couple of months and I don't want that to continue, so I'll be trying to work on a couple of small things on the side as I'm working on scripts. Currently, I'm still reworking on the Omnitrix series a little bit before I can officially release it. Other than that, we've also been working on other series, and it's just becoming a little complicated at the moment. So, with how long scripts are taking to write, and so forth. So, you might see small videos like these in the near future. Please let me know what you guys think. So, as we start the video. Ash's Kanto team / Orange Island, since the Orange Island arc wasn't too far off from Kanto and realistically there wasn't much to it. I'm just putting both Pokemon in this section right now. From Kanto, his started Pikachu. His other Pokemon he caught was also Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Charizard, Muck, Lapras, Snorlax, Kingler, Primeape, Pidgeotto, aka Pidgeot, and also Butterfree. And of course, 30 plus Tauroses. He kept the majority of them, but released Butterfree, and Lapras, as long as letting go of Pidgeot to promise to come back one day. He did not, from my knowledge. Neither did he, and he sent training to train off Squirtle, Primeape, and Charizard. So Charizard did eventually come back, and he did bring Squirtle back from the Squirtle Squad. However, he never realistically brought back Primeape. And from the 30 plus Tauroses, we do not know any specific Tauros. So this is immediately a problem. This is Ash's new Kanto team, how I would see it. Not much was changed, honestly. I think Kanto is fine. It's just small variations of what I would have liked to see. Firstly, as you can notice, I got rid of the 30 plus Tauroses and Pidgeot. How I distinct of what I should get rid of, or how else I see them, is depending on a few things. 1, how closely the fandom likes the Pokemon. 2, how useful the Pokemon was, and in turn, if Ash should have kept it. And 3, if it fits Ash's theme and team composition. So early on, Ash obviously wouldn't have that much changes, in my opinion. However, as you can tell, I did give it a 2, as I said. The 30 plus Tauroses was difficult. He couldn't really differentiate each one, and if he only had a specific Tauros he constantly used, maybe we could have kept him. But since there's 30 plus ones, there is no way he could tell them apart. He doesn't really use them that much, other than the one time I believe he used one of them against Gary. Even then, he couldn't really form a strategy with that one Tauros, and if we can honestly get a Tauros, like, with a different look to it, maybe having a scar over one of its eyes, or maybe making it a lot bigger compared to the rest of the Tauros, is showing that could be the pack leader, and or just the strongest one of them all. Maybe Ash would have, maybe he could have used it more to differentiate them, but he doesn't, so I just got rid of them all. Maybe he transferred them all to Professor Oak and just let him keep them as studies. And as for Pidgeot, I got rid of him because of his win ratio. I don't hate Pidgeot, but it still didn't win that often. Even losing to Team Rocket for the most part. This is early Ash to be granted, but still, I don't blame the Pokemon, I blame the inexperience of Ash. So that's why I replaced the Pokemon that I feel like would fit him, Crobat. Now, when he would have caught Crobat, I would say the same time when Brock would have caught his Zubat. In fact, I would say we don't let Brock catch a Zubat, instead give him a Cubone. I feel like Cubone would have made more sense for Brock to own. Maybe when they were in Lavender Town, they looked around to ask where some ghost Pokemon could be at, or something in the sense. And Brock meets Mr. Fuji, and it's a Cubone. Brock takes it and, trains it up and whatnot, evolving it into Marowak. But that's for another video, most likely, as I will probably make. As for what Ash would have done with Zubat, well, since it's a way lower and more manageable Pokemon at the time, he probably would try to use it alongside Butterfree. The two would probably get along. And yes, it would lose, but however, I say due to Ash working with Misty and Brock, and over time, he would train a little, he would honestly get Golbat before the league. Where before the league? I say maybe during a battle against Koga, or maybe somewhere like Sabrina. Either way, one of the few battles. And when he would have went to Johto, he got Golbat to evolve into Crobat. Now, as for win in Johto, that's really up for debate. I say probably against Faulkner, having an aerial battle. Either way, I think it would have been cool, and I definitely say Crobat fits with Ash's idea of a team. Honorable mention for Kanto, Aerodactyl. I considered giving Ash Aerodactyl, and the timing would have been around when he would have gotten a Togepi egg and Charmeleon evolved into Charizard. However, I feel like having this and Charizard at the same time would have clashed, and honestly, it probably would have been hard for him to train. Still a possibility, which as I considered, but I just decided not to. Johto, Ash has caught Chikorita that evolved into Bayleaf, Heracross, Cyndaquil, and that eventually evolved into Quilava in advanced battles. Same with Phanpy that evolved into Donphan, a shiny Noctowl, and Totodile. While he doesn't catch that many new ones, he doesn't catch more than Kanto. This is still a decent size for him to catch within Johto. However, I still have a few issues, just like with Kanto. As you all can see here, I have replaced Donphan and Totodile, replacing them both with Larvitar and Espeon. I also evolved his Bayleaf into Meganium. Reason why I did a few of these and why I evolved Meganium is because, one, I can also see such an evolution's changing, and so honestly, I think Ash should have probably evolved his Bayleaf into Meganium. It would have been still as useful, and it wouldn't really change much. Just change out Razor Leaf for possibly, say, Solar Beam, so as it's jumping in the air, it charges up, getting closer to the sun. I don't know, or maybe it can keep Razor Leaf since just shooting it out of his collar. Either way, I feel like it, with Totodile out of the way, it would have been, it would have evolved much sooner and evolved into his final form. Same with Koalava evolving within the Johto League. And as for why I got rid of Totodile and Donphan, well, Phanpy really didn't do anything within Johto. It honestly was kind of just a last minute Pokemon that was added in before the league. I'm not 100% sure if that was correct. It's been a while since I've watched Johto. However, it wasn't even utilized until within the Battle Frontier, where it evolved into Donphan. So I replaced the Phanpy with another egg Pokemon Ash had hatched, Larvitar. This Pokemon had traveled with Ash and gang through Johto a bit before reuniting with his mother. Within the narrative of the story, the mother would have seen how close Ash and Larvitar would have gotten, and seeing that Ash was a good trainer, decided to let Larvitar stay with Ash. Ash would promise the mother that they would at least visit, so that way she can still see his baby, which they do once, making that an episode, and then said never really again after. As for what I gave Ash in replacement of Totodile, is an Espeon. So Professor Oak had given Gary a Eevee, so why not give Ash one? Building the two boys' rivalry up and even making some rivalry for the two Eevees. Gary, like in canon, would have gotten Umbreon, while Ash would have gotten Espeon, giving them a clash of Pokemon typings and giving Ash a Psychic type, something that he really doesn't have. Now, granted, he does catch a Mr. Mime later, but he doesn't really use it. He kind of gave it to his mom, and he only technically used it during journeys, but I think that's because at that point they didn't give him any extra Pokemon to battle with. Why he didn't call any others, like his Charizard or any of the others, is a mystery to me. Now, Seth, I will also tell you guys what happened to Totodile. I believe Misty should have caught it. It would have been interesting in giving her a water starter from another region. Ash already has Squirtle, which I've considered should either take out Squirtle from Kanto and give it to Misty, or perhaps just letting Ash keep Squirtle and instead giving her Totodile. To me, it would have made more sense, and one of the two would have caught it either way. So, as for how the league battle would have gone, it kind of would have gone the same, just replacing his team with Ash, how Ash would have used it. And in this timeline event, Ash had actually brought back Primeape from training, so bringing into the league battle, since it was weird that Ash never reclaimed it. So Ash versus Gary would have happened the same, except for changing a few members, such as his Bayleaf for Meganium, one of his Tauroses for Primeape, and having Crobat as well within the team, and as well as Espeon. As for what happens afterwards against the Hoenn trainer, I kind of forgot his name, Since most of his powerhouse team members were knocked out, kind of by Gary, he would have brought in his B team, which was Muck, Noctowl, Heracross, Cyndaquil, Pikachu, and Bulbasaur. No, I didn't involve Bulbasaur because I felt like it would stay the same. However, Cyndaquil during the league battle would have had at least knocked out one Pokemon, giving it experience to finally evolve into Quilava, however getting knocked out soon after. This would have led Ash to realize he needs to train a new team up before joining the league, which he does. Granted, he almost has a fully evolved team, but I still feel like he needs to at least do that, and he would have realized that. So we're leaving all of his Pokemon behind except for Pikachu, heading over to the next region. So Kanto maybe catches Pupitar, Ampharos, and Stantler. Pupitar with a consideration of evolution, even Tyranitar. However, I felt like staying as a Larvitar would have been fine. Ash has caught plenty of Pokemon that he never evolved once, and I feel like Larvitar would be one of them. Ampharos was a questionable one for me, but I felt like Ash probably would have had a Mareep and evolved it into Ampharos, since it kind of just makes me think that. However, I decided not to. And as for Stantler, well, the gang did encounter an injured Stantler at one point. However, it says they didn't catch it. Honestly, and Brock was the one who lured it to so they can give it medical attention. If anyone probably would have caught Stantler, it probably would have been Brock anyways. So that's kind of why I didn't give Ash this Pokemon. As with the teams in the past, Ash's Hoenn team it's nice, but I still do have a few issues. And as with Ash's team within Hoenn, it is Sceptile, Tailo, Corphish, Glalie, and Torkoal. This isn't bad per se, but I think I would have liked to see something like this. As you can see, I have changed his team. I also forgot within his original team, he also got Ampipom, so sorry for that. Now I'm mentioning it. But as for what I replaced Glalie and Corphish. Those two Pokemon honestly wasn't bad. It's just that I kind of wanted to replace them with a few others I felt like would have been more justified. I replaced them with Flygon, Absol, and Walrein. Walrein already would cover two of the typings I got rid of from Ash's team, which was Corphish and Glalie, an ice and water type. With this Pokemon, he would have caught Spheal instead of Snorunt. It's been a while since I've actually watched Hoenn, so I probably would have to relook at that, but I still feel like Walrein would have been a great choice. Spheal wouldn't evolve until battling against Seed Market, kind of like how Snorunt was into Glalie. However, it would only evolve into Celio. I believe. And not be like that for a while. As for until at the Battle Frontier, where it would have eventually evolved into Walrein, just like Sceptile and so many of its other Pokemon during that Battle Frontier, where he also caught Ampipom. Flygon, on the other hand, would have been caught somewhere sooner or later. It would have been as a Trapinch. It would have evolved into Vibrava by one of the many gym battles. Maybe most likely against Norman. Or after. And then during Kate and Eliza, instead of Pikachu in the Thunder Armor Swellow, it would have been Vibrava and Swellow battling against Kate and Eliza. They were losing, so Vibrava evolved into Flygon. So, the Pokemon honestly seems like a good Pokemon for Ash to own. I'm surprised they didn't give him one, honestly. And as for Absol, I would say they would have went by one of the many towns on their way through their journey, hearing the seeing a wrecked town, and hearing stories that it was the Absol. Since in the Pokedex entries, Absol is known to bring chaos with its wake. However, realistically, it's just trying to warn people. Ash would have known this, kind of like getting the hint of this after Absol came around, saving Ash from falling boulders or something as they were looking for Absol, realizing it wasn't the one that brought the storm, but rather trying to warn people, just like it tried to warn Ash until it saved Ash. Eventually, there would have been a big storm coming by. People would have tried to attack Absol. Ash explaining what's going on, and thanks to Absol's warning, the storm wasn't as bad as it would have been. People apologized to Absol, and Ash also thanked it for saving him. However, Absol wanted to go along with Ash since it showed him kindness. Decided he wanted to be helping Ash throughout the league. So, is that a bit of a stretch? Maybe. However, there could be some episodes we could have added in for that. As I said, I would change some of the episodes if I had to, since certain episodes would have to change anyways. I didn't want to change his majority of his core of his team, since I liked him quite a bit actually, and I felt like Torkoal was just a nice fit anyways. Members of Ash's team that could have been within Hoenn: Salamence and Routes. Salamence I felt like would have been an alright member. Maybe Ash would have met at Bagon and caught it as he's trying to fly. Ash told him that someday he will fly and he will help, so he brought Flygon around, evolving into Shoan, and eventually, maybe during the league, evolving it into Salamence. However, that would mean he had 2 dragon types, and I only really wanted him to have 1, so I chose Flygon. And as for Routes, I felt like any Routes meeting Ash would have eventually kind of see Ash as a good person. It's not unbelievable. However, I just decided against it because at most I wouldn't say he'd get a Gardevoir, maybe a Gallade, but at most it probably would have stayed into a Kirlia. That's just me personally. Well, let me guys know what you think. Uno has the least amount of problems with this team that I can think of. His team consisted of Infernape, Torterra, Staraptor, Gliscor, Gible, and Weasel. Mostly consisting of fully evolved Pokemon and a couple Pokemon that aren't fully evolved. However, I do want to switch it up a little bit, not too much as you will see. As you can see here, I only switched up a couple evolutions and gave him 1 new Pokemon. No Pokemons were removed from this one. I de-evolved Torterra and evolved Gible into Garchomp. I also gave him a Glaceon. My biggest reason why I de-evolved Torterra, despite it being one of my favorite Sinnoh Pokemon, especially starter lineup, is because Ash's Torterra did not get better as it evolved, it actually got worse. After it evolved into Grotle, its speed reduced significantly for being more bulky, which I had to try to learn to be more bulky. It kind of did, but at the same time, I think it would have been happier staying as just a tiny Turtwig. It's not like we haven't seen Ash not evolve certain Pokemon before, so it makes more sense to me. And in favor of that, I actually evolved Gible into Garchomp. That way he still has 1 other fully evolved Pokemon and is a pseudo-legendary. This is also one of the reasons why I didn't evolve Larvitar or even gave him Salamence, because I feel like Garchomp should have probably been one of the very first, in my opinion. And yeah, he would have still brought Apom and traded with Dawn for Weasel. There's no changes there. As for Glaceon, I had a big reason why. For one, I kind of want Ash to have 2 evolutions. And this is the only other region besides from Kalos where there was more evolutions. And why not Leafeon? Well, he already had Turtwig. I can see certain episodes where Ash is trying to got an Eevee, a new Eevee, and trying to train it like his old Eevee back in Johto. However, it battled significantly different and lost a couple of battles. This would have led Ash to think, maybe I should train it as its own individual Pokemon. Yes, he remembers the good times he had it with his old Eevee, which evolved into Espeon. However, maybe this Pokemon wants to train differently and use different moves. So that's what Ash did, eventually it evolving into Glaceon. Now, so I did consider maybe giving him Leafeon, but I still felt like Glaceon would have been the type diversity in this team, considering he already has 2 flying types. So, yeah. I already mentioned Gallade and Rampardos. Gallade, as I mentioned, would have been probably the routes he would have caught in within Hoenn. However, he doesn't in this timeline, as I said. And I didn't want him to have a second fighting type. I know double typing isn't that important, considering Ash has, later you will see, he does still. However, I felt like, I don't really know when he would have, plus if he would have caught in one during Hoenn, and it followed him like Apom, it would have been a bit too much. As for Rampardos, I don't know, it just gives me those Ash Ketchum vibes. As many Pokemon fans know, Unova was Ash's strangest journey and most idiotic. For one, they kind of bonked him on the head, giving him amnesia about Pokemon, and two, making him even more dumb, kind of like when he first started off, depriving him of all the past experiences, apparently. And his team kind of reflects on that, with him catching Crocodile, Pidove, Leavanny, Palpitoad, Pignite, Snivy, Oshawott, Scraggy, and Boldore. I'll be honest, I forgot about a few of these Pokemon, and this was the least liked team I think Ash has ever owned. So obviously there's been a major change we need to do. As you can see here, I have downsized Ash team by removing quite a bit and evolving one Pokemon. Now he owns Crocodile, Snivy, Duat, Darmanitan, Pidove, Leavanny, and Zoroark. I got, of course, get rid of his Boldore, Palpitoad, and his Tenpig. Don't worry, Tenpig within the anime, instead of getting catched by Ash, was caught by Iris. I felt like Iris could have used the boost up in numbers. So, and later we would see Iris having Pignite, and eventually into Emboar back when we see her in Journeys. But otherwise, with Ash not having his brain reset either, he would have trained most of his team up, and he would have had Duat, Oshawott evolved into Duat. I feel like this would be a good middle stage Pokemon for him to have. I was debating on either keeping Boldore or Snivy. I should decided Snivy. If you guys think otherwise, I'll switch it around some other time, but for now, I think that should fit. Crocodile was his best Pokemon, and Leavanny, I just love the Pokemon. He, of course, needs the regional bird. As for Zoroark, I would say switch out Scraggy for being hatched instead for Zora. I was debating on just keeping it being a Zora, but I felt like a Zoroark would have also been cool to see either way, so that's another one up for debate. And Darmanitan was just kind of a fire type that I felt like Ash probably would have liked anyways, and it felt like an Ash Ketchum Pokemon to have. So yeah, it's bolstering numbers, but at the same time, it's bolstering numbers with a purpose of this Pokemon. So yeah, to me this makes more sense. Maybe not make him so dumb, and it would have still fit within his character. Honorary mention: Gigalith and Stoutland. Gigalith would have been the Boulder back then if he didn't keep Snivy. However, since I got rid of Boulder, he wouldn't really have Gigalith either. Again, that is up for debatum. And as for Stoutland, I don't know. We see him how he treats Stoutlands within Alola. I feel like that could have also been a cool comeback, and who knows? It could still be a good Pokemon for Ash to own. Carlos, like Sinnoh, has probably the least amount of changes needed, having some of the coolest and most iconic Ash Ketchum Pokemon within this region, that being Talonflame, Goondra, Hallelujah, Noivern, and Ash Greninja. Of course, like in the show, he got rid of the two. However, in my timeline, I would have preferred if Ash would have went back for it during Journeys, so he had Mega Lucario and this. However, there is still one change I probably would make, as you will see now. As you see, no removals. However, I did add instead a shiny Trevenant. If you're wondering where he would have gotten this, it would have been during that episode where they encountered the shiny Phantom. Maybe that Phantom would have came with Ash and traveled alongside them. Eventually, Ash getting Phantom to evolve into the Trevenant. That way, during the Colossus League, he wouldn't have to call back for Goondra, and that way he had already a full team of 6. Not that I hate Goondra or anything, it just probably would have been preferred. Plus, it would have given him an extra diverse typing to bring back home, since he had to leave most of his colorless Pokemon behind. There wasn't too many choices for additions, since Akalos was like the least amount of Pokemon was added that was new. I think there was focus on more giving Mega Evolutions than adding in new Pokemon. However, from what I could look from at the Pokedex and what I felt like within the story, these three would have made sense. Mega Charizard X would have been just his regular Charizard. Maybe he would have brought it back with him in Kalos, since he already had it within the end of Unova series. Aegislash is just a cool Pokemon, and I feel like it would probably fit with Ash. However, they never literally encountered a Honedge. And speaking of why I didn't really give the Ash Charizard, or even Mega Charizard X, is because Ash Greninja was more cooler in a sense at the moment, and Alon would have been weird to battle against. Maybe he could have used Mega Charizard X against his other rival. I'm failing to remember his name, though. It's been a while since I watched X and Y. And Aurora would have been the most likely candidate. However, says I don't think Ash would have caught it. Instead, maybe Serena. And why I think Aurora would have been more better candidate is because mostly the fact that they actually encountered Aurora during an episode, and maybe it's being saved by the group, maybe by Serena, would have given Serena additional Pokemon, and would have been thankful the scientists realized, that. Lola. The region Ash has finally became champion, having the weirdest art style for him and Team Rocket, and a weird team. Don't get me wrong, I like some of the Pokemon Ash owns. However, it's still pretty weird to me that he had not one, not two, but 3 specialty Pokemon. What I mean by specialty is Pokemon that no other trainer really could obtain or really use, but he had gotten, just as in Dusk Form Lycanroc, Melmetal, and Narigul. I can't remember his name, but I'm just going to call it Purple. Not to mention, he also had Nebi, aka Cosmo, that evolved into Solgaleo. Technically, it was his, so since he took care of it and such, plus it seems to respond to him the most. Not to mention Incineroar, that really didn't fully evolve until after it beat the Cuckoo's Incineroar and then just fainted. That was a little disappointing. And then Routes. Honestly, Routes is good. My new Alola Pokemon team, however, does in fact include more than just a few specialty Pokemon as well. As you can see here, I've given Ash Golisopod, Palossand, and Alolan Geodude. All these Pokemon that I've given Ash, he has met at some point within the Alola anime. Golisopod would have been a Wimpod whenever he helped saved it along with an Alolan Execute. Maybe in that episode, Wimpod's friends already left without realizing it, and he wasn't with them. So it would travel with Ash, since he saved it, and eventually would have a battle against Guzma's Golisopod, it being scared, Ash believing in it. Perhaps it lost, and then he promised that they would get better together. Eventually, when Ash would fight against says Guzma again and his Golisopod, it would have evolved during the battle. Maybe make it a 3-on-3 for the two. And Golisopod would learn Liquidation, doing a whole samurai thing with his Golisopod. And for the final slashes between the two, Ash's Golisopod stumbles a little bit before Guzma's Golisopod would fall over and faint, giving him the win. As for Palossand, well, they did have an episode with Palossand, and it seemed to have traveled towards Cuckoo's house at the end, kind of being a muck situation. I would have liked it if Ash would have caught it and it would have been an official member of his team, giving him a type combination he really doesn't have on his team currently, or really in the past, since he never really had a ghost type, even so far with my team that I have currently. This is before Journeys, mind you. And it would have been just cool to have that kind of little tidbit. It's not like Ash had caught Pokemon like this before. And as for Alolan Geodude, well, realistically, he was interested in catching one. I'm not going to defend myself further than that, other than Ash could have definitely had any new electric types. I don't see why Ash should be exclusive with just Pikachu. Of course, I wouldn't want it to evolve, since I don't see him owning a Golem in the future. Perhaps it would have been a weird Geodude where he taught it how to use Rollout and Wild Charge. So it would be like a Rollout Wild Charge combination attack. I don't know. It would have been honestly cool in my opinion for Ash to at least own another electric type within the series outside of just Pikachu. Honorary mention for Ash's Lola team. Few of these Pokemon he has met or could have met: Toucannon, Alolan Executor, Komoro, and Mudstale. Mudstale, he seems like a pretty alright Ash Pokemon to have. I don't know when he probably would have met it, but it would have been a cool one to have. Alolan Executor, it would have been nice to have Ash at least caught one other Alolan form Pokemon within the region. And since Ash has encountered numerous Alolan Executors in the past, why not give him one? It seemed like a good fit anyways. Toucannon, honestly, this is because he didn't get a regional bird within this region and placement for Rowlet. I know I got rid of Pidgeot within the first series, but to be fair, he did too. And I don't know, it felt like it would have been cool. Maybe a Pick-a-Pick would have had missed the Rowlet, so it found him. Ash decided to train it since the two seem close. Rowlet being like a big brother that kind of ends up being a disappointment a little bit since they keep falling asleep. Somewhat like that. And as for Komoro, this is just a cool pseudo-legendary dragon fighting type as well. I don't know what else to say since we didn't really see it enough within the anime. Finally, we reached to the last of Ash's journey. I'm not going to go over the very last series because honestly, I haven't watched it and I know they're not going to make Ash catch anything new. But, so, yes, this is of course Pokemon Journeys. A little more disappointing comparatively, but at the same time, it still was one of his greatest Pokemon catches. In the form of him getting some Pokemon everyone told the Pokemon community to what they would want to see Ash catch him to catch, such as we're doing now. Hence he caught Dragonite, Gengar, Lucario, Surfetch, and Dragovich. I might have butchered the last one, but otherwise, this team was still pretty cool considering that each of them had a unique ability in this case. However, I was disappointed in the lack of Galar Pokemon. That's my only complaint with this team. If he would have caught a few more, I felt like they would have been good. As you all can see here, I've added only a couple of Galar Pokemon, plus one Hisuian Pokemon. The main thing why I had one Hisuian Pokemon, which was Hisuian Arcanine, is because they did go back to Ancient Sinnoh, and I would have liked it if he at least caught one Pokemon from that time era. To at least cap off. Plus, it would have been the Pokemon that we see in the opening, treated as a legendary, but not really. Other than that, I gave him Corviknight, the coolest regional bird of them all. I will fight anyone on that. And also, of course, Obstagoon. I grew up on Kiss, and Obstagoon is just a cool looking Pokemon to me. I would say another Galar Pokemon, but this Pokemon just seems to make me think for Ash. He would probably rotate this in these Pokemon around during the Grand Conference or whatever it was for the end of Journeys, where he became officially the world's greatest Pokemon trainer. And as for the maybes for Journey, we have Mr. Rhyme, Meowth, Gardevoir, Kleavor, and Cormorant. Oddly enough, I can see Ash owning this Pokemon, mostly as a gag, as this Pokemon would possibly constantly always gobble Pikachu up and spit him out. I was hesitant to add this and Corviknight, although I can still see Ash maybe catching both and rotating the two in and out, so Kleavor was the other Pokemon that I considered during the Hisuian arc they went through. I feel like this Pokemon would have been cool to see as well. Maybe Ash would have also caught in a Scyther during when Go caught his Scyther, and Ash would have brought his Scyther and Pikachu to the Hoenn battle part where Go saw Ash battle. Gardevoir, well, this is the end of the series, and Gardevoir would have also been a cool choice too. It was just a questionable one if he would. Mr. Rhyme would have also been, I think, a relatively good Ash catching Pokemon to have. It would have given him two typings he didn't have it already in his team, both in my new version of it and the old. And Meowth, this would either be Team Rocket's Meowth, which he would have accidentally caught it or something, or perhaps this was his own Meowth that he caught. And this Meowth and the other Team Rocket's Meowth would have gotten into a tussle and such. It could have also just been the Gallermouth evolving into Berserker or whatever. It would have just been interesting if it was Team Rocket's mouth too, so that's the main reason why it's here. And there you have it. What I would have liked to see within Ash Ketchum's Pokemon team. I have a collage of them all at the end of this video, as you see now. This part was a difficult part to try to fit them all in, to make them look neat. I kind of didn't do a great job on that, but otherwise I think it still turned out great. If you all couldn't think of any other Pokemon Ash Ketchum probably should have caught and maybe shouldn't have, switched out, evolved, leave it down in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry I haven't been posting. It is just really difficult, especially with work, my life I'm trying to get in situated, and script writing as well. We have to think of stories, arcs, and keep interest within it. So it's just that we have been working on a lot lately. I'm still working through the new series of Omnitrix, especially with this editing. But if this editing is something you all seem to, like, considering that that I've been working hard on editing like this to make videos look nicer. This is also why videos hasn't been coming out. So hopefully soon we can get more scripts in. I can record again as usual. And maybe even doing some other series just as Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Fairy Tail, and some other animes and genres. We are also considering to do our own original stories, so keep an eye out on that. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This does not mean I'm back. It is just a video that I just want to update you guys on what the situation is. This just seemed like the most funnest, which it was to me. I might do more Pokemon videos in the future. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoy. Cyber out.